is Morgan with the Rotoscopers, and today we are bringing you some exciting news about Disney's newest animated feature, Moana. So earlier this month, Bleeding Cool released a snippet of the synopsis for Disney's upcoming animated feature, Moana, but that wasn't the whole story. We actually had more information about plot, characters, and a little bit about art style. So let's talk a little bit about the plot. So Moana tells the story of a young girl, and she actually is the youngest child and the only daughter of this great chief. She has 6 older brothers, and they come from a long line of navigators. This family loves the water, they're always going out, they're exploring, and one day her dad and her 6 brothers go out and they get lost. So Moana takes it upon herself to go out and find them. Really, really cool, interesting story. Along the way, she comes across this demigod named Maui, and they team up and they really work together to find and save her family. This is a Polynesian story. It takes place in the South Pacific, so imagine the cultures of Tahiti, Fiji, Samoa, Tonga. I'm not quite sure if this is set in a fictional island or a real island, but just imagine the South Pacific. It's very green, it's lush, it's beautiful. It's set 2,000 years in the past, so it's not a modern day Polynesian story, it's more of an ancient story, which is something really exciting. I don't think we've really had a story like that in a long time. I'm thinking Mulan, I'm thinking a little bit of Brother Bear, but we haven't had anything that far back. You know, the closest thing I can think of is DreamWorks' Prince of Egypt. It's kind of maybe around the same time frame, but not really. So this movie, for the most part, is set at sea. Yes, we will be able to see the islands, but I mean, we're going to be navigating, we're going to be in boats. Moana's going to be on this adventure for the majority of the time. I kind of think and imagine this is going to be a little bit like Wind Waker, the Zelda game. You remember that game? Like 80% of your journey is just trying to get from one island to the other, and then from one island to the other. I mean, you're really sitting there holding a... Obviously, this one's going to be a bit more exciting than that. We're not just going to be sitting here like looking at our watches, are they there yet? It's a lot of exciting stuff is going to happen while she's at sea. And for all you Disney song nerds out there, don't worry, this is going to contain a lot of songs. No word on who the composer is yet, but there will be a lot of singing. Yo ho, Moana's life for me. Alright, so let's dive into the characters. The main character is named Moana. She is the youngest daughter, and she has all these brothers, so obviously she tries to be like them. They're all navigators and seafaring men, and she's obviously really passionate about this. It's her dream, that's all she wants to do. At the same time, other characteristics, she's actually pretty funny and witty. She's always making people laugh. It's just naturally who she is. Think of like a young Tina Fey. It's interesting because these Disney heroines are becoming more and more overtly funny. I'm thinking Anna and Frozen already from what we've seen. She's hilarious. And I imagine Moana is going to be even more funny than Anna is because she knows she's funny and she kind of just plays off that. I really don't know if Anna like knows she's funny. She just is. Now, we don't really know the official age of Moana, but we know she's kind of a young, awkward teenager. There's a lot of angst in her life and she's insecure. So yeah, that's going to definitely play into her personality. At the same time, she's still funny, she's still passionate, she's obsessed with anything and everything navigation. That's her dream, that's all she wants to do, and so she's always kind of thinking and talking about it. She's also a big nerd when it comes to the demigod Maui. She knows everything about him. Imagine the biggest Disney nerd you know, or a really, really big Star Trek, Star Wars fan, where they're just spouting off all this information about them. Yeah, that's Moana. She is obsessed with Maui. She knows everything. She's your one-stop shop for information on him. Moana also likes to talk really, really fast. She likes to babble and she just keeps going on. She gets really excited. Yeah, Moana likes to talk. So last thing about her is Moana, she wants to be tough and strong like her brothers and dad, but at the same time, like she has this natural compassion and warmth to her that she's trying to suppress because she wants to come off like one of the guys, strong and bold, and I can do this, I can be a navigator. But really, I mean, she has this other facet of her personality that she's not letting people see. So we don't know whether Moana is going to be a princess or not. Yes, I know she's the daughter of a chief, but will Disney consumer products use that? Probably. But there isn't really any talk of her being this Polynesian princess. She may be, she may not, but I haven't heard anything either way. So the next character is Chief Waialiki. So I tried Googling the pronunciation of that and that word doesn't exist, so Chief Waialiki it is. Chief Waialiki is obviously Moana's father. He's very imposing, strong. I mean, he's the chief. He has to be. He's intimidating. His dream is to restore voyaging and navigating to the South Pacific. I guess it hasn't really been around for a while, even though he comes and descends from this long line of navigators. That's his goal. He wants to bring it back. And so obviously that's one of the things that sets him out on his journey with his sons, because he wants to be known as this great voyager. Now the chief loves Moana. She's his only daughter. But at the same time, he just doesn't really respect her dream or really believe in her. He doesn't really think she has what it takes. I don't know whether it's because she's a girl or just because she's the youngest, or maybe he's super protective, but he doesn't believe in her dream. So next is Moana's mother. Now this mother is the opposite of her father. Talk about opposites attract. She's very compassionate, loving, understanding, kind. And she actually wanted to be a navigator herself when she was younger, but she put those dreams aside for her family. She sacrificed for her family to raise her children and to protect her family. Even though she has put her own dreams aside, she kind of secretly really wants her daughter to succeed. So she has aspirations for her daughter to be this great navigator, to, you know, do what she couldn't do. And so, yeah, Moana's mom is a really big advocate for Moana, and that's going to help. Okay, so let's talk about these brothers. She has 6 brothers, but we're going to talk about the oldest brother and the youngest brother. So the oldest brother's name is Wakaroa. Try saying that without dancing. Wakaroa. Again, the name did not come up in Google, so that's just how I'm gonna say it. Now, Wakaroa is this big, cuddly teddy bear. I mean, even though he's the oldest and maybe you think he's gonna be the strong defender, I mean, he is, but he's just loving and kind. And he really, really believes in Moana and her dream. I imagine, now this is my interpretation, that they're gonna show a scene of her growing up with the family, and, you know, Moana's gonna be making this little boat or pretending to steer something, and her brother's gonna be right there on her side, like cheering her on and like giving her tips and pointers. I mean, he wants her to succeed, unlike the father. So, you know, obviously Moana and her brother are pretty close because he believes in her. And fun fact, he has a little pet piggy named Kuri. Cute. So her next brother is named Umu. He's her next oldest sibling, so the youngest of the sons, and he is her biggest enemy. I mean, he knows how to push her buttons and torment her. He knows every single weakness that Moana has, and he just finds so much joy and happiness making her miserable. I mean, come on, if any of you have siblings, you probably had one of these siblings that just did it for fun, just made you annoyed. So he's always just bothering Moana, and it's very, very frustrating. Now, he's sort of a skeptic. He's not a believer in these legends and stories of the demigods, particularly the story of Maui. He just doesn't believe it. Alright, so this movie not only has human characters, but also has a lot of non-human characters, sort of these demigods. The first one we're going to talk about is Maui. Now, Maui is the character that Moana ultimately teams up with, and he's really, really cool. Maui used to be one of the strongest and most powerful demigods in all of Oceania. He ruled South Pacific. It was pretty awesome. He was known for his super strength, he was super lightning fast, and he also had this like magical fishhook that kind of reminds me a bit of Thor's hammer. This guy ruled the ocean. He beat opponent after opponent. He was just always the winner, the strongest, the defender of the seas, until one day he lost. He had a bitter, humiliating defeat, and after that he sort of packed his bags and he said, I'm done. So he became this broken hermit who just kind of lived on his own. This happens to a lot of characters. I think Big Z from Surf's Up, I think of Philoctetes from Hercules. These guys used to be super strong, and then they have one thing that brings them down and they're just over. They're over it. And that's Maui. So Maui, he's really buff, he's strong, he's stocky. He actually kind of reminds me of a fire hydrant. So he's short, he has these little arms, kind of like a little head right there. That's just the imagery you should imagine for him. Maui is funny, and sometimes he gets a little crazy, but he's arrogant, he's tough, he's strong. He's probably gonna talk in like a really guttural voice, like, yeah, probably not like that, but better. He's very confrontational. He was kind of like a world champion fighter and defender of the oceans. So he's always, you know, he was always getting in fights. Even today, he's getting in fights verbally with people. Now, with all these kind of negative domineering qualities, he does have like a little bit of playfulness. He's funny, and he can be warm. We just don't see it that often. Alright, so the next demigod is Mokemoke. He's this tree spirit that was carved into a tiki idol. He's very lonely, he's small, he's shy. A bit opposite of Maui in the fact that he's not confrontational, he's not aggressive, like, we don't fight, like everything's okay, everything's fine, everything's okay. He's a bit insecure of himself and kind of gets all this anxiety. That being said, he is a chatterbox, kind of like Moana. I can imagine them going back and forth. He's really funny, he's a comic. I mean, he just makes people feel really good even though he has those insecurities about himself. He's also a little bit of a gossip, so be careful what you tell him because the whole ocean might know. Next demigod is this spirit named Te Po. Now this is a female, she's very old, so imagine a grandmother willow type, but she is a living island. She used to be this beautiful, lush, gorgeous island until it was ravaged by settlers and they completely destroyed her. And so she's just broken and she's dying because of this. And as a result, she hates humans. She hates settlers. She wants nothing to do with them. She's really bitter towards them. So she has made it her life mission to make sure that these human plague have no contact with them. She's going to do everything in her power to make sure they don't make it here, that they don't pollute and destroy her beautiful land. Okay, so that's all we really know about the characters, but we do know a little bit about the art style. So there was a piece of concept art that was released a few days ago, and this is very Mary Blair inspired. It's beautiful, lush, vibrant colors. We see a girl there. Obviously, it's probably Moana, because the only girls we really know are Te Po and Moana's mom. So I'm guessing it's Moana. This doesn't show anything about the navigating and, the seafaring that we're going to be seeing in this movie, but it does give us a little bit of the tribal Polynesian elements, which is really cool. We have heard that they are looking more into a painterly style. Think of the post-impressionist artist Paul Gauguin. Very vibrant colors. They use a lot of thick paint. Actually, a lot of the subjects and themes in Gauguin's work were Polynesian, South Pacific. We got to see a lot of islanders in his work. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see this carry over into an animated film. That being said, what is the animation style going to be? We have heard that it's going to be similar to Paperman. Unfortunately, the technique for Paperman really isn't going to be ready for full feature production by that time. So it's going to have a few modified techniques and new elements, but for the most part, it's probably going to look like your traditional animated Disney film, tangled with a little sprinkling of this painterly influence and then maybe a little of these new techniques. Let's be honest, that's what sells. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing Moana anytime soon because it doesn't hit theaters until 2018. That is a half a decade away. Alright guys, so that's all we have for Moana today. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think about Moana, the concept, the pictures, the style, in the comments below. The way this is shaping up already, this could be a huge hit for Disney. Now be sure to subscribe for our upcoming videos about animation news and reviews. We always have new stuff coming out, you just don't know what to expect. Moana, you ugly. In Johnny Lingo, there is a character named Mohana, and she's actually pretty ugly, hence Mohana, you ugly. So I'm just going to be using that phrase in all future Moana videos because it's like one of the greatest lines in all of movies. Just saying. Check it out.